Are rolling.
Right on. So my topic was what killed the movie industry. Now, before I get into this, if anybody doesn't agree with me, I'm sorry. It's just my opinion on what killed the movie industry. So I just want to put that out there. So when I say the movie industry is dead, I don't mean like it's literally dead. Obviously, movies still get made, they still get released. Properties still get sold off to studios and things, that kind of stuff. But if we look closer at the industry, we see something that has never happened. The once star-studded classic formula for making movies, it has changed drastically from what it did a long time ago, and it is dying. The industry is dying, and I can tell you what shot the gun and what overall killed the movie industry. So what has changed about the formula and the way films have been made over time? Well, the way studios make money is probably what changed the most. So, we go back to things like the 1920s when it was silent films and stars like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton were making like $1 million a year for their films. Then, over time we go to the 50s and 60s and it was westerns. They were the big things, the John Waynes, that kind of stuff that was making money. Then in the 80s it was all about the high impact action movies, the Stallones, the Schwarzeneggers, the Bruce Willis movies, and that's pretty much stayed the same up until now, or the past couple of years, and when things have really changed. So instead of people like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, we had people like Keanu Reeves, Matt Damon taking their places for those action movies. But there was a film in 2008 that changed the way that films were made and changed the Hollywood lifestyle overall completely. And in 2008, that film was Iron Man. And it was a small studio that hasn't been done before that put this out. So Marvel Studios, they never made a movie before Iron Man. They took out a loan of $500 million from the bank, and nobody expected them to go anywhere. They sold off all their rights to their big characters before, their Spider-Mans, their X-Men, their Hulk, and that kind of stuff. They sold those off. And they didn't have any of their brand name characters to start a movie franchise with. So they took this small character that nobody really knew at the time in Iron Man, and they made a movie of it. So they got a small-time director in Jon Favreau, who has never made many movies before. They cast a recovering drug addict as their main lead, which is a big gamble for any studio to do, in Robert Downey Jr., and being an unknown studio, nobody knew what could come out of this. And it changed cinema, and it changed the way we make movies today. So I don't want to talk about the film Iron Man. I like the film, but I don't want to talk good about it because I'm about to talk bad about it, because Iron Man is what shot the gun that killed the film industry. And I'll tell you why. It's because Marvel Studios, with Iron Man, started something called the cinematic universe. And what the cinematic universe is, it's different stories that exist in the same world. You all know that, the things that led up to the Avengers, that kind of stuff. That's what a cinematic universe is. So the rest of the studios out there, the Fox, the Sonys, the Universal, all of them, they got jealous because Marvel was making billions of dollars every time they put out a movie. So they got jealous. And what studios do, they want to make money. So they want to make a cinematic universe too. So we have the following things to thank for Iron Man. And again, if you like these films, that's okay, but I don't think they're all that good. Warner Brothers wanted to make a cinematic universe, so after The Dark Knight Rises ended, they took all their DC properties and meshed them into some movies more or less aren't the best movies. Fox did the same thing. Once they wrapped up their X-Men trilogy, they wanted to make a cinematic universe, so they started doing prequels. They started doing other things to build up a universe. Even Universal wanted to do it with the new Tom Cruise movie that came out this year called The Mummy. I don't know if anybody's seen that. It wasn't very good. That's the start of their cinematic universe, called the Dark Universe, where there's Frankenstein and Dracula and all those guys in a thing. And Universal, they did it again. Instead of doing just the trilogy of Transformers movies, we got 2 sequels and a Bumblebee prequel movie coming out next year, which we're all excited for. All excited. Even Star Wars, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. But then, last year we had Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Next year we have the Han Solo prequel, then an Obi-Wan prequel, then possibly a Yoda prequel. So we got prequels coming out, and you know how Star Wars is with prequels. Even Hasbro, the toy company, wants to start a cinematic universe. And this is true. You can look it up. They want to take their toy lines, put them together in a cinematic universe, and see where that goes, because toy lines and movies, that always works. There's one thing that is common with all these things. Nothing I said was an original concept, right? You see, Marvel took Iron Man, that was already a known property to people in the comic book world, and they launched something big. So now studios feel the need to take something that's already known. So that's why all these movies coming out, they're prequels, they're sequels, they're reboots, they're remakes, they're based off stories, they're based off existing properties, and it's not leaving time for an original concept to get the wide release it needs or span out and do something good with itself. It's just, you know, stuff that already exists, that kind of properties. And these studios who are copying Marvel's formula think they can make money, and they can make money because that's all the audience wants to see. Because of Iron Man, because of the audience would rather watch a sequel to a movie from the 80s than an original film that comes out this year. So what killed the movie industry? It was Iron Man. It was Marvel. It was the cinematic universe that they started. They gave Hollywood a reason not to buy new properties and just remake their old ones into a universe, into a cinematic universe. With this, no original properties have a chance to get wide release, and they fall into obscurity. So here are a list of films that came out this year that I think everyone should check out. These are not built into a cinematic universe, and I think they're all really good. So there's Baby Driver, Wind River, Colossal, Mother, The Big Sick, The Hero, A Ghost Story, The Beguiled, and Get Out.